Hi, we are here for another episode of the AI Edge podcast. We cover industry news to help marketers and advertisers and folks in the space get smarter about all things AI in our industry. So we have another special guest this week with us. His name is Mark Josephson, actually one of my old friends and colleagues from AOL days. Mark, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. It is great to be here. Thanks for having me. So after 30 years of being an operator and building companies, three-time CEO, I now coach executives and founders at early stage and growth companies on everything from how to build a great company, but really how to transition and leverage all these new exciting technologies and how it impacts their world and its leadership. So I'm thrilled to be here today and digging it.
Let's do it. Let's do it, Mark. Also, you were the CEO of Bitly, and we clicked on the Bitly link to get into this podcast recording. So very, very appropriate.
Thank you very much. A lot of short links.
Yeah, and apparently you still get royalties on every click.
Keep on clicking.
Keep on clicking. I love that. And then we also have Myles Younger, who's in a fantastic outfit today, Myles. Say hi, Myles.
Hi.
Aloha, Myles.
Aloha to you both and to everybody listening.
Yeah, for the people that are streaming and not watching on YouTube, Myles is wearing a Hawaiian shirt in April in Portland, Oregon. So
hey,
must be nice weather.
Well, it's cold, but the sun is out, and so that's good enough. And so I busted out the Hawaiian shirt.
You Portlandian people are funny. Okay, let's get into the top stories of the week. So the three big, I'm gonna create a new moniker. The three big AI companies, or the three-headed AI monster, whatever we want to call it.
It just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, right?
Great job.
There you go. Thank you guys. I am a marketer at heart. So the three big AI companies had big launches this week. So OpenAI had a big launch, Claude had a big launch, and Gemini, Google had a big launch. So we're going to go through all three of them. We'll start with OpenAI. So I'd say their launch maybe was the most significant. OpenAI launched GPT-5.5. It's their latest model. And they also separately, but in the same week, announced the launch of Images 2.0. So GPT-5.5 is, again, their newest model. So like with every model, it's supposed to be better, faster, smarter, more efficient. And also they said some interesting, I think they used some interesting verbiage in the release of this model. They said that 5.5 gets them closer to a super app, which I found to be interesting language. Because, and in that they basically said, if we think about a world where AI is helping you code, so ChatGPT with Codex, obviously there's the LLM, the flagship LLM, which is ChatGPT itself. And then there's the browsing kind of capability. Those are the three things they mentioned. Obviously there's images, there's, co-working capabilities, there's other stuff. And I think they're implying that all of those things eventually get bundled into some kind of AI super app. But I think them saying that was interesting to me. A couple of other notes about GPT 5.5. Apparently, it is much better at coding. I'm not a coder, so I couldn't tell you if that's true, but, I'll take their word for it. OpenAI also mentioned that they expect that they're going to be shipping new models way faster moving forward versus the last 2 years, which, again, make whatever you want. I think they've been shipping plenty fast, but, they did say that. And then Images 2.0, I haven't really messed around in it yet, but the word on the street is it is significantly better than, previous versions of image generation in ChatGPT itself. It is much better apparently at like specific detailed text image generation, which if anyone's used any of these models to generate images with text, you could probably share some frustration, right, with everybody here. Like it'll just literally spell basic words wrong. It'll like have an R that's cut off at the top. It'll look like hieroglyphics sometimes.
Invents new characters all the time.
Yeah. It's like, what language is this, ChatGPT? So apparently Images 2.0 is way better at details, which is, I think, something we need. So anyways, that is the quick roundup of OpenAI's launches. Mark, let's start with you. What do we make of this, especially as it pertains to marketing and advertising? Obviously image generation is valuable and impactful for marketing and advertising, but any quick initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm continuously trying to figure out who they're building for and
Mhm.
why. We're going to talk about Claude and Anthropic next, I hope. And when you start to use those products and see their roadmap and what they're delivering, you get a good sense of what they're trying to do and who their customer is. OpenAI still continues to me to be seem to be like a playground of, wouldn't it be cool if we could, without a real clear understanding. Are they enterprise? Are they consumer? Are they both? And what they're trying to accomplish. And I think for what that means for the buyer on the other side of the table of that is like, are they solving problems that are going to help me drive my business? I think they're so well capitalized, they're so well funded, they're so, the market cap is so big, you kind of have to do everything, or you have to do a lot of things really, really well. So, I think we can expect that the models are going to improve. We can expect that the image generation is going to improve. We can expect that coding is going to improve. I think anybody who's listening to this podcast has already enough of a believer that that's inevitable. And I feel like that's inevitable, right? But to what end and for whom is what I'm really curious about with those guys.
Yeah, that's a great take, Myles. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like, so they want to be a super app, which makes sense to me.
But what's a super app? What is it?
What's
What
a
is
super app? Also, I'm like, okay, what are you waiting on? Like, to me, they've had literally miraculous technology for years. Like, it's already miraculous. They're making it more miraculous, incrementally miraculous. But I'm like, well, if OpenAI picked, any company picked some simple AI use cases that they could get to be sticky, those use cases probably don't require progressively more advanced. Like, that's not the barrier to me to being a super app with AI right now. Like, make something that's helpful to me in simple scenarios that I can understand. Like, you think about sort of the panoply of super apps, or things that might be considered super apps or have ambitions of being super apps. It's simple use cases. It's chat. It's hailing a ride. It's ordering food. It's simple, straightforward shit. And it's like, sorry, you don't need the barrier to that isn't a more advanced model.
Well,
It's
I wonder,
figuring out the use cases.
Yeah, and look, there's a ton of innovation happening in the verticals with native AI companies that are building things for customer support or HR interviewing and recruiting or design, and all companies that I work with that are innovating on top of all of the frontier models in doing that. I just come back to like it's clear to me. If we were to say Claude is building a super app, Anthropic is building a super app, I can show you on their roadmap and what I'm seeing and what I'm using and how we're using it, where it's like, okay, I start my day in Claude, I end my day in Claude, I give it things to do, it's handling all that for me. It's unclear to me what choices OpenAI is making to satisfy which customer.
Right.
And I don't know what that is.
It ain't me.
Not me.
They're not really appealing to me as of late. I mean, I would say I agree with both of you. I think the interesting thing too, right? Just to like kind of, you guys are making some really good points. I think to simplify it a little bit, like at this point, everyone is shipping models all the time and really fast. And I think we're kind of past the point where the models, to Myles, you made this point just now, right? We're kind of past the point where the models matter all that much, because we kind of expect everyone, especially the three-headed monster, to ship at a rate where, listen, if one of them ships, the other one will ship fast enough at a certain point in the near future to catch up, right? And it'll always kind of be this three-headed race where they're all just kind of doing this. And at a certain, we've reached that point, at least in my opinion, where it doesn't matter if your model is slightly better. I'm not switching anymore, right? And the actual value is in the stickiness, to your point, Mark, of like, what am I doing with this? What are the use cases? And I just don't think shipping a model is that interesting.
I think it may not be news, but I think that I think we're still really far from the promised land of all the stuff that this is going to do for us. I think, do you remember the first time you were in a Tesla and you did auto drive or something? or your first time you had like that driver, like I remember that, and it was probably 10 years ago, right? And some version of it. And I thought, oh, my kids are never going to even have to get a driver's license 10 years ago, right? And guess what? Not only do they all have driver's license, they're driving the cars in the fucking walls. But like, so I think we're actually, the model stuff is interesting. It's important, but it's not interesting, right?
Yeah.
But when you really dig into the use cases that businesses, right, we're talking to businesses here, right? When the businesses are doing to deliver value for their customers, there is still a gap, right?
Totally.
There's still a gap that is there, that there's still half the people in enterprise aren't touching AI on a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis. They're not using it because it's not good enough yet, right? And so I do think that innovation really matters. I do think the innovation in the verticals really matters. And I think that the people haven't landed on their choice yet. I think switching, like I'm running 5 different things, whatever. I'm an early adopter, but like, I think we're still in early innings here.
Do you think, Mark, that does it matter to you? So I view somebody like you as a power user, right?
Yes.
Does it matter to you? Like, let's say, again, I think they're all kind of doing this with the models. Does the model's capability, like, do you foresee a situation where, Anthropic finally releases Mythos, right? And Mythos is that much better. I mean, just separate that, like maybe you're already Claude pilled. Separate that for a second. Like, or let's say OpenAI releases something like Mythos. Do you see a world in where a model comes out from one of these 3 companies or another company, like, I don't know, XAI or something, that is just so much better that it causes you to switch and throw kind of a bunch of work and setup you've already done in the garbage?
Yeah, I mean, it happens every day, right?
Does?
Like, yeah, I mean, but not necessarily between model switching, but I think we know, I think we underestimate the things that we know to be true about consumer behavior and business behavior, that are going to be true, that were true before, true now, and are going to be true later, right? It's important in these kinds of things to have a clear distinction about what it is we're trying to do, what's important to us, and how we can make choices about where we spend our time, money, and data to accomplish those, right? Like I'm all in on G Suite, right? Most of us are, right? What is it going to take for us to move off of G Suite?
Totally.
Right. But like, by the way, if something new came up tomorrow that was so much better, we'd be like, right? I use Superhuman as the front end to G Suite, but I'm not moving my data out of G Suite because it's been there for 22 years or whatever, right? And so I think there's going to be innovation around the use cases, around the application layer, but we're going to own our data, we're going to own our outcomes, and we're going to be able to shop for the vehicles that enable us to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I have a slight counter, but I'm not even going to give it to you right now. We're going to go to the next story. Okay.
Okay. But let me tell you one thing. Can I tell you one thing that I think is going to be increasingly important that not only marketers, but humans need to think about?
Yes, please.
Is the ethics and the ethics and intentions behind the people who will be controlling this data and controlling these technologies. And we need to be very, very careful about with whom we are trusting this new technology.
Cough, Sam Altman. Cough. Okay.
Hey, Shiv. Before we move on, I want to talk a little bit about the OpenAI image model that they released.
Yeah, go for it.
Not the model itself. I haven't used it yet. But I was struck, frankly, by the microsite that they launched to feature that model. If you go to that microsite, it's very well done. It's very handsome, and it does a little kind of, maybe it's a parallax scroll as you scroll down. These various sort of like artistic, sort of very nice, compelling images kind of like appear on the screen. To your point, Shiv, that you made earlier, heavy on the typography. Super heavy on typography. It was the first time really that I had seen something from a major AI company that actually seemed to reflect genuine creativity. like 100% of what I've seen so far is like, oh, well, this is what non-creative people consider to be creative work. And anybody with like a creative bone in their body, it's just like, sorry, pal. Like just because you like sharded this video out of Sora does not make you creative, nor is the video creative. It's tedious. Anyway, this was the first time I had really seen like, wow, this is really, really nicely presented. And it just struck me as potentially a turning point in not necessarily potentially the capabilities of the model, but equally important, the marketing and positioning of them to the industry as genuine and sort of authentic creative tools. Because it really kind of exuded this authenticity that I literally had not seen yet at all. So I don't know. They hired some nice designers and art directors and like
Johnny Ive.
I guess I know it was really well done.
That's interesting. Yeah. Actually, okay. So that's actually a great segue into the next story, which is Claude, our friends, the second head of the monster. Anthropic launched Claude Design, which, a few notes about this. So first of all, it is a tool that helps folks make websites, decks, prototypes. It's all about design. Claude specifically did not have image generation capabilities previously, so it is a new thing for Anthropic and for Claude, like entirely. Whereas, you could use Nano Banana and Gemini to make an image, or you could even use ChatGPT before to make an image, and you could not do that in Claude. It would code like decks, and it would use code to create charts and visuals, but it would not create a JPEG file of like a cartoon or something. And now apparently it can. So that is new. And I think, for a lot of people, we all know Anthropic's kind of had this meteoric rise over the last few months. And, it's zooming ahead. And so a lot of people are in Claude right now doing a lot of things, especially around productivity. And so I think this is fascinating, really important for Anthropic's growth, especially given they're trying to own the enterprise. And I think it's much needed. And so I'm excited about it. I haven't used it yet. Myles, I know you used it yesterday to make a U of digital deck, and you sent me a really ugly screenshot of a slide. So yeah, Myles, how'd it go? How'd that go for you?
It went okay. I mean, I was, there's, one of my former colleagues from Monks, Chris Byrne, who U of Digital is working with, and his firm Winston, he was posting about it on LinkedIn. I trust him. I trust his creative instincts, and he was raving about it on the day that it came out or the day after it came out. So I was like, okay, I'll actually give this thing a shot to make a deck that we needed. And the deck wasn't awful. I was able to work with Claude Design the same way I would give feedback to a designer. I just voiced over the slides of like, yeah, this is crap, this is good, this is crap, this is good. Wildly inefficient tool in terms of like, okay, now I need to leave this tab open for the next 2 hours while it thinks. But then yes, total mixed bag on the output. Some of it's okay. I'm having to go back and fine tune it by hand. And in the end, the process will have been probably less efficient than having shipped it to a human designer, outlined it in text and shipped it to a human. But
maybe more, efficient than you trying to do it yourself, or obviously, right? Because it's kind of working in the background.
Well, it's got me to the point where I can do it myself without having to like build an entire deck from scratch. Now I get to fine tune it myself. So there's some efficiency there.
And it's the worst it's ever going to be today.
Right.
Because it's going to get better every day. So I lean way back on this stuff and say, okay, I am 100% confident that at some point in the foreseeable future, Claude Design is going to be as good as, if not better, than like anything we've seen so far, right? But let's think about like, who are they building for? It's clear who they're building for, right?
Correct.
It is clear what they're trying to accomplish. Like, they didn't fuck with getting like, show me in my family as Simpson characters, like, whatever stuff that we all played with ChatGPT and all that stuff, because it doesn't serve their customer. And so what I think is really interesting with what Anthropic is doing is like, if they came out with an email client or some version of something, I would switch.
Mm-hmm.
I would be really not,
totally.
Like I would be open, because they're connecting all of the pieces of a knowledge worker's day job in life. And if you look at Claude Chat as a thought partner and a planner, and co-work as an employee and code as an engineer, and now you've got design as a designer, it's like, okay, I can connect those dots. And
Yep.
that's really interesting to me. And that's where, and they have been screaming with productivity on releasing stuff every day. They're releasing something that is just like an advance. And when you have that kind of clarity on for whom you're building, that's when you can pick up the pace and see the value. So that fires me up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you mentioned G Suite, Mark, a minute ago, and like when Claude Design came out, I was like, oh, I mean, it feels like they're not copycatting, but building whatever today's version of G Suite ought to be. Like they're just iteratively releasing product after product until everybody wakes up one day and it's like, oh wow, I can live in this thing. I can spend my whole day in this thing.
Well, the truth is I do start my day in Claude. And I start my day and it looks at my calendar, it looks at my emails, it looks at my Slacks, it looks at my knowledge base, it looks at my, everything. And I'm going less and less to all of the other tabs because, and this gets to what we were talking before, because it's the underlying data just exists. And what's the front end and the experience that I want to have and my expectations of what I can do with that. I think ultimately we will all own all of that stuff. We better own all that stuff or we're fucked. But like, we'll own it and then have choices for what we do with it. And we order pizza from here, Chinese from there. Like, I think I'm optimistic of a human-centric future for that stuff that empowers us to do more, faster, better.
Hey, Mark, when you say you start your day in Claude, like what specifically does that mean? Like you open it up and what does it do for you?
So they just released this week a live artifacts in Claude Cowork, right? So what that means is, they have a button there that says prep me for my day.
Cool.
Before yesterday or this week, I built agents and I, figured out all the stuff how to do that. But now I can look at Claude, I can open up Claude and it tells me what the most important things are for my day.
That's
right.
Awesome.
What did I miss? What do I need to do? Right. Like I hey, this just happened about one of your clients. Right.
Yep.
So easy to like, what's important? What do I need to focus on? What am I missing?
That's incredible. I am going to hang when this pod is done. I'm going to go do that.
And you know what? It's very good. It's not amazing, awesome. But like you like the people who are on the edge, like everybody on this Edge podcast is looking for that and understands that we can mess with that and figure out how to make it better. And I'm sure it's going to be even better tomorrow. I've got 6 different things running now that are supposed to be my AI chief of staff and are briefing me and looking at all that stuff. They're all okay. Some are better than others. But increasingly, you see Claude and Anthropic chipping away at all of that stuff.
Yep. Okay, let's go to the next story. So the third head of the monster is Gemini, Google. So Google had several launches. We're going to, they had some launches in their ad suite, some like brand safety stuff and some creative stuff here or there. But I think the bigger news was they launched the Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform. So previously in Gemini, building agents wasn't very straightforward. And actually, you would have to build agents in other tools potentially to like then use Gemini. And Gemini was kind of like more of a secondary layer under agents, but now you have kind of like a native agent building tool in Gemini. And it's designed specifically for enterprises, talking about, speaking to what we were just talking about. And they have a bunch of like canned agents in there that you can kind of unleash to do different things. You can obviously customize agents. You can give agents different types of skills. And what I found interesting about this, just really quickly, is like, Mark, doubling down on what you're talking about, right? Of just like owning I guess, I don't know what else to call it, but the AI layer of tools for knowledge workers. I think Anthropic has clearly raced ahead in that race, right? And I think OpenAI somewhat seems like their head's up their butt and, we don't know exactly what they're doing. Even though a month or two ago they came out and said, we are now an enterprise AI company, it still feels like they're kind of waffling back and forth.
Let's give them some benefit of the doubt that they're making progress. They're making
progress. Yep, totally. And I think Gemini, I think it's interesting what Google and Gemini is going to do, because as we talk about this, it all relates back to, well, G Suite is the interesting analogy here, right? Like Google already owns G Suite. They're probably looking at Anthropic and being like, oh shit. Like, is Anthropic going to become the new version of G Suite? And we have to be there, and we have to catch up, and we have to do this right, right? And so,
Well,
anyways,
Shiv, let me tell you where the battle really is for Google.
Yep.
It's against Amazon and AWS, Google Cloud versus AWS and Azure.
What do you mean by that?
If you take a look at the Google business and how it was, I mean, it's massive, right? But like, take a look at the growth rates of ads versus cloud.
Yep.
And take a look at how increasing the investment and the focus is increasingly on cloud and how that's driving the valuation. Anthropic is in bed with AWS. They just announced a massive investment and a commit on compute.
Yep.
Okay? Enterprises are making cloud decisions before they're making agent decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And increasingly going all in on one cloud versus another. Google's big enough; they're fighting the battle on all fronts, right? So, increasingly, I use Claude every day. I'm increasingly using Gemini because I do end up in Google Docs, right?
Yep.
And I do click that button and use it a lot because my workflow is there and there's value there. But I think if you think about for whom Google is building, I mean, I guess they're building for everybody, but because they're Google, but at the same time, they seem to be much more focused on the cloud level and making sure that they're locking in enterprises like lock, stock, and barrel.
Do you think there's an economies of scope type of play there where they're like, hey, if we can win cloud, then we can win, on the Gemini front more easily as well, right? Like that's probably part of the calculus and to a certain extent.
I wonder if it might be blasphemy on an AI Edge podcast is like, it's like, of course they're all going to have AI, right? Like, is that like, how differentiated is it really? But like, where does all of your data sit? Where does all your core infrastructure sit? Where is your whole product suite sit, right? Like one could argue that would you rather your agent goes down or your whole e-commerce system and website goes down? I'll take the agents down from productivity, but don't fuck with our business, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that shrinks over time. And the distinction between, am I using this model or that model versus this is how I run my business and with whom am I running my business? The hyperscalers at cloud, Amazon, Azure, like that's where some massive amount of the first chunk of Claude's revenue, Anthropic's revenue, came through hyperscaler distribution.
Yep. That's a really interesting point, Mark. Myles, do you have any response to that? Any thoughts on that? On just like what battle is Google fighting here?
No, I'm gonna let Mark have had the last
abstain.
word on
Mark, that was really interesting. I mean, we could talk more about it. I mean, it is. I think what you're saying is interesting. I think they are battling on all fronts is also an important point because they can't be looking at Anthropic's like $1 trillion market cap and saying it's fine, let's just, they are looking at that too, and so, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think it's a really good point. Okay, so now that we've talked about, I actually have one more point to make on this. Okay. My cousin, fresh graduate from the University of Wisconsin. I met him at a party for his dad's 60th birthday recently. He told me he got a job at Gemini, working as an engineer for Gemini specifically for Google Workspace, for G Suite. And I unleashed on him. I was just like, dude, you have so much work to do. Like, you don't understand how bad my experience with Gemini in Google Suite has been. And I started like literally listing examples for this poor kid, like, while he's sipping a cocktail. I think they have a lot of work ahead of them, and it's all on him. He's got to fix all the problems.
No pressure.
No pressure, buddy. Okay. Quick hits of the week. So, ChatGPT ads, some more news trickled out about the ads, right? As any reasonable person can expect, the minimums have come down, right? So it's not $200,000 anymore, it's $50,000. The CPMs have come down, so it's not $60 anymore, maybe it's as low as $15. Also, they've now rolled out a CPC model. So everybody that was losing their minds 2 months ago that, hey, this is never going to work, and they're pursuing a brand focused ad product, pump the brakes. It's evolving, it's new, and they're modifying and they're adapting, right? So also they announced a partnership with a mid-size or a mid-market demand-side platform called StackAdapt, who will now also have access to their kind of ad inventory. So the three companies, the ad companies that they've announced partnerships with so far include StackAdapt, kind of for like mid-market demand. I think that's like a smart partnership to just capture that mid-market demand. And then the second one is Criteo. Criteo is, that partnership is to capture kind of like retailer demand or commerce demand. And then the third one is with Smartly, which is more about the ad formats and the interactivity of the ads and chat-based ads and things like that. So, you know, ads in ChatGPT continue to evolve. They're evolving fast. It's good to see. And that's this week's kind of bit on ChatGPT ads. I'm going to keep moving unless you guys have anything to add there. Okay, we're good. Let's keep doing it. Next, large independent demand side platform, The Trade Desk, launched an agentic kind of offering, kind of for the first time. Like, I think they've been a little slow to the AI game in general. Their AI product's called Koa. And so they now have Koa agents, which kind of build and execute campaigns for marketers in the DSP. Their first partner is Stagwell, which is a large agency holding company. And it's interesting because the way they've set this up with Stagwell, at least in the press release, was Stagwell has agents, Trade Desk has agents. The agents talk to each other to do the work. The campaigns get built by the Trade Desk agents in the platform, and then they get executed. So, you know, Trade Desk's doing the stuff they should be doing and probably should have been doing a couple years ago, but it's good to see them doing it now. Next bit of news, SpaceX, which is, you know, the rockets company, Elon Musk's rockets company, announced that it has a deal in place with Cursor, which is a very popular AI coding tool, to basically either buy Cursor for $60 billion later this year, or pay them $10 billion as part of a mutually beneficial partnership.
Can we bet on this? I want to take the under. I want to take the under on this. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the under on that too, Mark. I mean, I wish I could counter you. Miles, do you think SpaceX is going to buy Cursor for $60 billion? Over or under?
I don't fucking know.
Let me tell you that, right? So he's trying to build something. He's trying to build a super app. He's got a model, but no revenue, right?
Yep.
And Cursor's got a revenue and no model. So, like, intellectually, it makes a lot of sense for what they're trying to do. He wants to compete, like, it's basically getting Claude code for his business, right? Which makes a ton of sense. I think intellectually and strategically, you could make a case for it. I just don't believe a word of like what's coming out of, like, you know, they're filing to go public. They are trying to get investor demand. They are, you know, I'm still waiting for this full self-driving Tesla. Like, okay, like let's take the under on this one, on whatever it's going to be. I'd hit it hard.
I also like, I don't know. This is probably going to sound really ignorant. Didn't he have a lot of trouble raising money to buy Twitter for like $50 billion? Like, I mean, I know he's got, I know Tesla stock has been doing really well, and like, I know he can find money wherever he wants, but like $60 billion is a lot of money. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, look, if it's not going to, I don't think he's going to have a problem finding the money.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it's ever going to hammer the under.
Hammer the under. Okay. Last lightning round bit. This is the fun one. Meta apparently is tracking its employees' keystrokes to train AI. Employees found out about this. Apparently it was like kind of being done secretively, and then employees found out, and there was like a big mutiny or something, and people were mad at Zuckerberg, and apparently employees were like, can we please opt out of this? We don't like it. And Zuckerberg said no. And so that's the story.
So I'm going back. I'm going back to my side comment before. We stand at a moment where we have this transformational technology that is going to change how everybody works. It's just going to change, right? So I won't say how much or a little, but we're going to look back at this time and say it's different. I think about what happened when social media started and how excited we all were. And then when some companies and some people and the incentives changed, bad shit happened. Really bad shit happened, right? Like ethnic cleansing in Myanmar and
Yep.
like, just horrible things that happen when incentives get changed and the wrong people and the missing regulation and like guardrails and all this stuff. I feel very strongly that we were at an even more important point right now
Mhm.
where we need to be very thoughtful about who we're trusting, how we're trusting them, and how we're keeping eyes on them. I'm a strong proponent, standing on a soapbox here for smart regulation of AI, not the
Mhm.
stuff that OpenAI is purporting, more like the RAISE Act in New York, and the things that are happening to protect us from unintended consequences and misaligned incentives. And I think this is like no surprise he's tracking that. No surprise that they're doing more that we don't know.
Yeah. Long story short, not sure how much we should be trusting Sam Altman and Mark Zuckerberg with this
Mark,
stuff.
Oh,
I have a question.
Sure.
I would love your perspective on, like, it strikes me as one of the core conundrums, let's call it, of AI and AI adoption and getting value out of AI is that theoretically, you have a theoretical, super intelligent AI
Mm-hmm.
entity that will help you in all aspects of your digital life, business, etc. It can do anything that a person sitting at a computer can do, but it can only be helpful to the extent that you divulge information to it, that you just unlock all the secrets to it. And so, I've thought about this the last couple of years. I'm like, yeah, we're going to reach a point where like some companies are going to have to cross this Rubicon where it's like, no, you got to invite the AI to every meeting. The AI's got to have access to every one of your emails, every one of your documents, or else it's going to have trouble being helpful to you. And so what's your view on like reconcile? I'm not challenging you.
Yeah.
I just am curious.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what's your view on reconciling that?
I look, I think that there's truth to what you say, and inference modeling, which is saying, hey, we all know what that is, right? So like lookalikes, but like I assume that they're not going to have to know anything about me to know everything about me. And I've never worried about, right or wrong, I've never worried about sharing my data because we're marketers. We know that we already have it all, right? So like that's never really been a huge concern of mine. I mean, I maybe I'm naive, and I'm certainly naive about some things, right? Like my email and password have been, you know, divulged more times than I know, right? And I change them, and it's two-factor auth and all that stuff. But I think that the question really is about how we're going to use this technology, these new advancements, and what it means to be human, and what it means to be a leader, what it means to be a marketer, what it means to be like what can it enable us to do that only we can do and do better than the machines ever. And I think that the jobs are going to change. I don't think they go away. I think they change. And the question that I ask and work with my clients on is, where do you get the most leverage? What's your superpower? And, and increasingly you start to hear things like, when I'm sitting across from an advertiser, when I'm sitting across from a client, when I'm actually able to make a connection in a way that I can
Yep.
understand what they need, what they want, and build that relationship. And then, by the way, I've got the team of 1,000 agents back at the shop on Google Cloud, like actioning all of that stuff. And so I'm really interested in what it means to be a leader in the world of AI. I'm really interested in what the jobs are going to look like and how it can help make us better, not replace us.
So that's a great segue, Mark. So let's talk a little bit more about your work, right? So you're advising many different types of companies at different kind of AI maturity levels, let's say.
Yes.
AI native companies, companies that were around way before AI, they're trying to transform themselves. First of all, I'd love to hear like what are those conversations with those? I mean, you primarily work with the CEO at these companies, correct?
Yes.
What do those conversations sound like kind of across the spectrum right now? Is there fear? Is there excitement? What are you hearing? I'm sure it's all over the map, but like just, quick kind of overview would be helpful.
Sure. It's all of the above. And I think to start at the universal, everybody is very excited about what change is possible, right? And so if you're building an AI native company, let's say you're building an agentic recruiting platform, an interview platform, right? That you can interview everybody in the world and screen and find the best, right? Something like Alex.com, right? And you're just transforming the workforce. You're transforming, like you're creating things that never existed before and able to do things like, and there's such excitement and innovation that's happening at the tip of the spear on that stuff. Okay. Then imagine you're a CEO of, let's call it a legacy SaaS business doing 50 million ARR. And all of a sudden everyone's telling you that you can be replaced in 2 minutes.
Yep.
Right. And what I'm finding is that there's often fear upon the recognition that things are going to change. As humans, we fear change. We like things to stay the same, generally speaking. But then there's a process by which, and we talk about this, where they realize how exciting that opportunity could be. Right. And it often starts with, there's two things that happen. One is, if you were to start this company today, how would you do it? Oh, well, I would do it totally differently. Okay. Hold on to that. Right. And then there's something that I think is really important for folks to do is to actually get your hands dirty. I'm not a technologist, but you got to build something. And you have to build something because you realize that all of a sudden your expectation and understanding of what it takes to build something, how long it takes, and how hard it is, it just collapses entirely. So the excitement, the moment for people who are not AI native, when you realize, I wish I could, becomes, oh, I can. And then it gets very exciting. And it gets really exciting. And that's where you see transformation happening. And that's where you see innovation happening outside of like the frontier labs and the Series A companies that are innovating at the edges. And that's an exciting place to be.
like, Mark, I think it's really interesting because like, it's always been an adage, right? To anybody who is an entrepreneur or even like just senior executive, big company, like, hey, roll your sleeves up, get your hands dirty once in a while, go sit in somebody else's seat. That'll help you better. That'll help you be a better leader, and be more empathetic and kind of understand how to run your business better. I don't think it has ever been more true to have to do that than now, right? Because everything is changing and the way things are being built is completely different than it was before. And so like, I think that's really important for especially like marketers. I think like, not to be like mean to any marketers that are out there, but like, I think a lot of marketers tend to kind of have an allergy sometimes to building and getting their hands dirty, especially senior kind of established marketers. Like I'm a CMO of a big Fortune 50 company and like I'm the exec and I tell people what to do. And that's my job. And it's like, pump the brakes.
Yep.
Go build something in Claude Code for a minute. Try it. Or try
just to get a taste. I'm not saying that they have to be the person that's building that later, but when you realize the transition, it goes from I wish I could to now I can, from I don't know how to, oh my God, I get it. And there's a lot of talk about this abundance that's coming, right? Anything is possible anywhere, all the time for everybody. And there's truth to that. I'm just such a believer and optimist, right? So like it's a journey that we're on, right? My cars aren't self-driving yet, but the what it means to be an AI native leader is what we have to figure out. And that's where I spend a lot of my time.
So Mark, so that's like the number one thing I want to ask you about is like what you're seeing, if you can share any, whatever, anecdotes or specifics around like changes in, I don't know what you might call the organizing principles of a business. Of like when the assumptions around the business change, the assumptions of running a business, starting a business were one thing 10 years ago. They were another thing 20 years ago. They were another thing 30 years ago. Feels like there's like a step change going on in what those assumptions are, how you organize a business, how you finance it, how you plan and resource, everything, all that stuff. I mean, I would love to hear what you're seeing.
I think from to be black and white or binary, 1 or 0, like in the future, there's going to be companies that are AI native and then there are going to be dead companies. right? And I don't mean that in like a bebop boot robotic kind of way. It's like the same way that like, I mean, I'm old enough that I remember pitching against print. And I felt the same way about print. Like it's the same thing. Like I knew that we were taking dollars out of print in 1996, and I knew it was inevitable that print was going to go away, right? We all did, right? But not everybody did. And it feels like, for me, it's binary in that regard. Like the way in which people work is going to be different. And I work with a founder who I really respect, and they had a real business, and I won't name names, but it's a business everybody on this call knows. And he was looking ahead saying, we're not AI native enough, right? Everyone, we're building product the same way we've built product. We're taking to market the same way we're taking to market. Our marketing team is getting leads and positioning the same way. Like we've always done it. And he was courageous enough to come. He literally came in on a Monday, called an all hands meeting and said, everybody cancel every meeting on your calendar. Here's Claude Code. We're going to meet for 2 hours every day from 12 to 2, and we're going to become AI native. And so, for example, the marketer, actually one of the sellers, was like, I don't have enough visibility into the behavior of my leads and of like the opportunities. And God, wouldn't it be great if I could have some sort of dashboard where I'm like seeing the movement and blah, 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 blah. And she built it.
Yeah.
Okay. Wouldn't it be great if all of a sudden I could be creating demand across the globe with low touch, high intent signal that feeds into my machine, that feeds into my processes that I'm already doing, and surfaces scored leads in front of my sellers so they can pick up the phone and take the call? They built it. Right. And so there's this, and on the flip side is people trying to hold on to legacy. You know, oh, well, we'll just have one more good quarter. We'll be fine. Let's get one more good quarter. Like, let's figure that out. And I worry about those folks because we knew print circulation was dropping. We knew that was not going to be the case. I feel the same way about this. So it's like, it's a bit of I call it the Andy Dufresne, right? Like from Shawshank Redemption, get busy living or get busy dying, right? Like pick one.
Do you advise any companies where you have to kind of like drag them up that hill? Like, have you had to do that? Like, that's part of your job, right?
Yeah. Look, I'm an executive coach. And so my job is to help CEOs be the best versions of themselves and to deliver great results for the business. I do work with folks who report to CEOs. I work with CMOs, heads of sales, CROs as well. And it's not as simple as saying become AI native, because you have to hit your month, you have to hit your quarter, you have to get the fundraise done, you have to like be able to get up in the morning and take a deep breath and like, you know, do all those things. But you have to be intentional about the things you're trying to build and how you want to build them, whether you're a marketer, a seller, a product person, or a CEO. And if you're not coming with a modern tool set today, you're behind.
Yeah. What is so we got to wrap in a sec. Let's leave the guests with this. If you've done any work with marketers, right, like a CMO, you know, and maybe there's a specific example, or you know, again, you don't have to name names, but have you seen any like CMOs doing it right? What does doing it right look like from a marketing perspective that you've seen kind of in action? That'd be cool to kind of leave the listeners with.
Sure. So I'm thinking of two with whom I've worked, and they've transformed the workflows of their entire business.
Okay.
And they've looked at where time was being spent doing stuff. This is I call this the simple stuff, but it's not simple. Of where, like, you know, a product marketer creates a 5-page doc that then goes to design and then goes to, you know, we have to create manually 47 battle cards across the org, right? Like, I actually think so many of the organizations I see, maybe I'm biased, are beyond this, but like, that's like a weekend worth of work that you can do to have that all like done faster, better, easier, right? So it is taking a look at the workflow that everybody's doing, understanding where there's repeatable things that are of value that we can productize with AI, to make faster. It's that Venn diagram. It's repeatable, it's high value, and like we can solve it. Like there's a lot of rows to be hoeing in that area, and I see that. And the other thing I see is that when I'm thinking of one of my favorite CMOs, and he just started saying on every ask for budget or headcount, he just said, "First, tell me how you thought about AI doing that for us."
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Yeah, that makes sense. That's good. That's good. Kind of like leadership from a marketing perspective, just like asking that question and making it a habit, making it a rule. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's all the time we have today. Mark, thank you so much. This was super enlightening. Want to leave the listeners with a quick plug for the AI Accelerator. The next run is in May. It starts on May 12th. Please enroll if you haven't yet. Use promo code EarlyBirdsLearnAI for 20% off. And we have a really exciting sponsor this time around. It's High Touch. Kind of used to be more of a CDP and a data platform, but now it's becoming a lot of things, including a design studio and an AI first design studio. And they're going to demo some of those capabilities in the AI Accelerator. So we're excited to have them on board. Thank you again, Mark. Wonderful episode. Thanks, Myles, as always. Go to the beach, I guess, now.
Aloha means hello and goodbye.
Yeah.
There you go. Aloha, Myles. Aloha.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, guys.